What's going on, guys? Okay, so today we are doing the live reaction to two very important chapters. The first one is My Hero Academia chapter 290. I'm sure most of you guys, we all know what happens, but this is the official translation that's just come out. So we're going to go through that like page by page, and then after that we're going to look at Black Clover, which is I haven't really looked at the spoilers for Black Clover, so that's going to be totally new. Just like everything's going to be totally new, basically. But My Hero Academia, we're just looking at the officials. So yeah, let's just get into it. So we kick off obviously on the first page here. So we see the hospital that Rei Todoroki is being held in, and all of the doctors are seemingly like rushing towards her room super fast, and the exact words are, "Kill the TV in room 315. She's been making so much progress towards her release, but now this." Talk about terrible timing. So naturally the doctors and everyone else in Japan are seeing that Dabi is kind of like he's broadcasting his message to all the TVs and computers in Japan, and so they're just like, yo, we need to kill everything, so that Rei Todoroki does not see anything else, because naturally she's still, in terms of her mental state, it's a bit fragile at the moment. Although she's making progress, this is not a good thing for her, right? So there's a bit of text and it's coming from the TV. The live broadcaster on the news, he's kind of like a bit confused about what's going on. And so this is the part where Rei's eyes they're just like, what the hell is happening? Because she thinks her son is dead. And right here at this panel, right down here, we can see Dabi. And yeah, he's looking pretty sad, I mean, this is a serious moment, right? This is the thing that Dabi has been building up towards basically for the last 10 years. And now it's really happening. So yeah, you can tell he's very serious, possibly the most serious we've ever seen him. But before we get into Dabi and everything about that, we get this awesome, what is it? It's kind of like a bird's eye view of Gigantomachia just forging his way towards Shigaraki. And we can see like this trail of destruction he's just leaving behind him. It's ridiculous. So yeah, all for one is like superb timing from Gigantomachia. Because with Machia's arrival, it means that Shigaraki probably doesn't have to fight too much anymore. His body was basically at its limit already, and as we can see here, All For One goes on to explain Tomura's body could fail at any moment. Okay, so that's important. And he goes on to say that he's activated a few different quirks inside Shigaraki's body to reduce the burden placed on his body and mind. So that's interesting, right? So All For One is forcibly activating Shigaraki's own quirks, against Shigaraki's will, but it's to protect Shigaraki, obviously. But it's just interesting that All For One can make Shigaraki, use quirks against his will, basically. So that's quite interesting. So moving on, we see Shoto. By the way, Shoto's just been amazing these last few chapters. So Shoto comes face to face with Shigaraki. He seems pretty fearless at this moment. I mean, what is he thinking? So he's like, there's no way we can handle fighting Shigaraki and that giant. I better take Shigaraki down since he's already on his last legs. Yeah, so Shoto's going in for the kill. He's going to destroy Shigaraki. That's his intention anyway. And we see Nejire swooping in. So it's Nejire and Shoto versus Shigaraki. So Nejire goes output level 100. So she uses 100% of her power. And Todoroki does the flash fire fist. And both together, they just destroy Shigaraki. I mean, look at that. Look at Shigaraki's face in here. He's not having a good time. I mean, how many times has Shigaraki received a 100% attack from someone? Deku did 100% smashes, Endeavor did his prominence burn, which is his 100%, Nejire's doing her 100%, Todoroki's giving his 100%, like everyone is just giving their all against Shigaraki, so he's not having a good time right now. But in this little panel down here on the side, we can see Endeavor is just shouting for everyone, just run, just get out the way, because we know Machia is coming, right? So Machia swoops in and we get this awesome piece of art. Like this, even if you just forget the manga, this is just an amazing piece of art right here. And Machia swoops in with his giant claws. Shigaraki is in one of his fingers. He's kind of like scooping Shigaraki up. And in the meantime, he's just destroying everything else in his path. And down in the corner, we can see Deku is on the floor. And Bakugo is being held by Tenya. So Machia talks to Shigaraki and he's basically saying, your will is my command, so give me an order. But as we can see, Shigaraki's just, he's burnt out. He's not talking. Maybe he's even unconscious, to be honest. And what else do we see? So Endeavor is now pretty exhausted and he looks up and he's thinking to himself, I'm sorry, Hawks. It's my fault that this giant is up and about. Endeavor allowed Shigaraki to wake up. And so in his mind, by allowing Shigaraki to wake up, Gigantomachia has now come to Shigaraki's aid. And then this is the funny part. So we see Dabi Dabi emerges, and Dabi's still on Gigantomachia's shoulders, but he kind of like emerges out of the shadows, and he's like, oh hey, Endeavor. And he's shaking a bottle, and I've been reliably informed in the YouTube comments that this bottle Dabi has in his hand is probably just water. So Dabi's basically, he's happy to see Endeavor. He knew Endeavor would be there, but Dabi didn't know that Shoto would also be there. So it's too perfect. It's too great. So Endeavor, he's like, Dabi, damn it, the League is here as well. And Dabi begins to pour the liquid over his hair, and he says, ouch, like, is that any way to address me? And then next panel, this is the moment we've been waiting hundreds of chapters for. Dabi says to Endeavor, I have a great name. Call me Toya. And we can just see Endeavor's like, what the hell did you just say? Like, there's even a little speech bubble next to Endeavor here. It's just blank. So Dabi goes on to say, you're really that dumbstruck? Really? Like, I know my face isn't what it used to be, but I was sure my own family would have figured it out. I said it in a previous video, but the one time Endeavor came face to face with Dabi in the manga, his vision was blurry, right? So you can say that Endeavor didn't get a good look. But Shoto, on the other hand, we don't know how close Shoto was to Toya, but we do know that Shoto saw him close up. Shoto's vision was fine, so it's a bit surprising that he didn't recognize him a little bit or suspect anything. But yeah, I guess the scarring is just too much that they didn't even recognize him. So now we see Deku, and Deku's like, wait, what? Because back during the Endeavor Agency arc, Deku remembered that Shoto mentioned his older brother Toya. Even Deku's realizing that this is Todoroki's brother. And so we move on back to the hospital, which is where we started the chapter, and we see Dabi on the TV, and he straight up says it, I am Toya Todoroki, the eldest son of Endeavor. To date, I've killed over 30 innocent people in cold blood, and today I'd like everyone to know exactly what drove me to do such despicable acts. So Dabi is putting Endeavor on blast on national TV. His goal right now is to destroy Endeavor's hero career and let everyone know that not only is he a terrible father, but he also created one of Japan's a serial killer, basically. Dabi continues, explaining his life story, and he says, once upon a time, Endeavor yearned for nothing but power, but when he found himself unable to surpass All Might, he despaired. To concoct even stronger quirks, my father forced the woman who would become my mother to marry him. That's when my father created me, in pursuit of his selfish, egotistical dreams. But I was a failed creation. It didn't take long for him to reject me. I was tossed aside and forgotten. But I never forgot a thing, and I had plenty reason to keep watching you. And quick little Easter egg from Horikoshi here. The little boy here and his shark friend, these are the two guys from the Pro Hero arc. This guy specifically, he's one of Endeavor's biggest fans, and even he's watching this like, what's going on? And Dabi says, these murderous flames of mine are Endeavor's flames. And so we go back to, we're on the battlefield again. And so Dabi says, guess what? My pre-recorded life story is being broadcast nationwide and on the internet. And Dabi starts to dance, and he's like, I'm having a blast. And he's kind of like losing himself. He's like, where was I again? So Dabi goes on to say, how could I make you hurt? I've been pondering all that ever since that day. When you finally achieved your success with your little puppet Shoto, I thought killing him might do the trick. But then who would have guessed? You got bumped up to number 1. Suddenly, I was rooting for your happiness. Alright, so just before we move on to the next page, it's interesting that Dabi says he's been pondering Endeavor's, his downfall ever since that day. I'm assuming in the next chapter we'll find out what caused Dabi to die and for Toya to turn into what he is today. But we still don't know what happened on that day just yet. Dabi goes on, he says, my blood ran cold when I thought you might die. Basically, Dabi's referring to the fight with the Pro Hero arc and against the Hayanomu. And then he goes on to say that he led different villains to fight Endeavor after this. So the first one he mentions is called Star Servant. So Star Servant was a villain that appeared at the beginning of the Endeavor Agency arc, and he basically had the power to manipulate glass. But Endeavor and also Hawks and also the Class 1A students, they dealt with Star Servant pretty easily. And then the other villain he refers to is Ending, and that villain actually captured Natsuo. So it's interesting that Dabi was the one who sent Ending, because Ending threatened to kill, Dabi's favorite sibling, Natsuo. So I wonder if Ending was going off script when he captured him, or if that was always part of the plan. But anyway, Dabi goes on to say, "You were finally number one. It's all you ever wanted. When at long last you could stare your kids in the eyes, did you finally start to feel that warm and fuzzy bonds of family? You must have thought, as long as I can face the future, I can be better." And so Dabi goes on, "I can tell you're at a loss for words, so here's the answer. The past never dies." And this is just awesome. Like, this page right here, just the pose, everything about this is just so cool. And so Endeavor and Shoto, they're just like, oh my god, like, they're stressed out. And Dabi goes on, he says, "You reap what you sow, so let's tango and dance with your son in hell." And the very last panel of this chapter, we see the plane that has Best Genius inside it. So Best Genius is still in the game, he's still plotting, and I guess in the next chapter, Best Genius will make it to the battlefield. And we'll see what he can do. I assume he's going to try and use his steel fibers to tie up Gigantomachia or something. But as I've said previously, Best Genius cannot stop Gigantomachia. I don't think so. If Best Genius was to stop Gigantomachia somehow, then in the next Pro Hero rankings, if there is a next Pro Hero rankings, Best Genius is definitely going to be number one. Because Endeavor's hero career, as of this moment, is over. You know, Endeavor's popularity after this moment is going to be so far down, he might not even be in the top 10 if he's still alive. And obviously we know Hawks, his wings have burnt off, so he's kind of technically quirkless. So if Best Genius can do something against Machia, then he's going to be the new number one hero, which will be cool. But like I said, you know, Hero Society might not be so great after this reveal from Dabi. But yeah, guys, that was everything from My Hero Academia chapter 290. So now I'm going to read some of the comments on the Twitch chat, and then we will go to the next chapter for Black Clover.